Hello again and welcome back to our course on PowerPoint 2019. In this section, I'm going to give you an overview of the desktop screen and the views. Now, what we're looking at here is that same PowerPoint presentation that we've been looking at in the previous modules, the Wanderlust Travel slide deck. And I just want to start by giving you a quick tour around the desktop screen so you understand what the ribbons and all of the icons do. So starting right at the top, you'll see where we have wanderlusttravel.pptx. So this is the name of your PowerPoint presentation. It's the name that you've saved this presentation as, and we're going to be looking at how to save presentations in the following modules. Underneath that, we have our menus or our ribbons. So you can see here currently I'm clicked on Home, and that gives me different groups which contain different groups of commands that I can use. You'll see here I have Insert as I move across, which will allow me to insert things into my presentation. And then I have all of these different ribbons that I can use. I'm not going to go through all of them right at the moment. Just be aware that there they are located just underneath that title. Now, if we move just below our ribbons, you'll see that I have a group of icons just here. Now, these icons are actually located on what we call the Quick Access toolbar. And the Quick Access toolbar is pretty much what it says on the tin. It allows you to very quickly access commands that you use frequently. And you'll have different commands on this toolbar. There is a default set of commands, so you might have undo, redo, and save. But you can customize this toolbar to contain any command that's available to you in PowerPoint. Now, if I go across to the little drop-down arrow at the end, and when I hover over it says Customize Quick Access Toolbar, if I click on that, what you'll see is a drop-down menu, which is showing me the 10 most frequently used commands that I might want to add to my Quick Access Toolbar. And you can see that some of them have ticks next to them, which means that they're already added onto that toolbar. So for example, if I find myself emailing presentations fairly frequently, instead of hunting around for the email button within PowerPoint, I could just add it to my Quick Access toolbar, and then I have a quick way of very quickly emailing that presentation. Now, it's worth noting that I'm not only limited to adding these few commands to my Quick Access toolbar, I can add any command, and again there are a couple of different ways that I can do that. Let's go for the first simpler way, and that is if you find a command on any of the ribbons. So for example, if I jump to the Insert ribbon, and maybe I decide that I add quite a lot of pictures into my PowerPoint presentations, if I want to add the pictures icon or command to my Quick Access toolbar, all I need to do is right click and select Add to Quick Access Toolbar, and you can see there it is on the end. Another way that I can add commands to the Quick Access toolbar is again utilizing that drop down arrow and going to More Commands. Now this will actually take me into the PowerPoint options, and you can see that I have Quick Access toolbar highlighted in the list on the left hand side. What I've then got is in this first list where it says popular commands, I then have all of the commands which belong to that popular commands group. So these would be the ones that are used most frequently. If I want a list of all of the commands available in PowerPoint, again I can click the drop down and I can select all commands, and that will give me a very, very long list of every command available in PowerPoint in alphabetical order. And what I can then do is I can then find the command that I want. So maybe it's this one here, Align Text. And I can add that to my Quick Access toolbar directly from here. So if you glance over to the right hand side, you'll see it says at the top, Customize Quick Access Toolbar. And then I have listed there all of the commands that are currently on that toolbar. And all I would need to do is to click the Add button in the middle, which will move Align Text over to the right hand side of the screen. Click on OK, and you can now see I have that Align Text button on my Quick Access toolbar. So a couple of different ways that you can customize that to really increase or improve your efficiency when working in PowerPoint. Now, if we move up to the top right hand corner of the screen, you can see you've got my name there. So that's telling me the account that I'm currently logged in with. I also have a little ribbon display options button, and if I click it, you'll see I get a drop down with some other options in there. So I can choose to hide the ribbon. And that just gives me more screen real estate with which to work on my PowerPoint presentation. Now, I'm not saying that this is something I use all that frequently, because obviously you can't see your ribbons or your commands, but it is there if you just need a little bit of extra space. Now, to get those ribbons back, if I click the icon in the top for ribbon display options, and I can select Show Tabs and Commands. It's worth noting that there is another option in there which will just allow you to show the tabs, so I can see those tabs but not the ribbons below until I click on them. Okay, so it's really entirely up to you with regards to how you display those ribbons and tabs. I then have, next to that option, I have the minimize button, which will just minimize my presentation down into the system tray. And then alternatively, I also have the restore down, which will just make my screen a little bit smaller. And then of course, I always have my close button in the top corner. Now moving to the main bulk of our screen. So in the middle, obviously I have the slide that I currently have selected, and you can see the rest of my slides in the pane on the left-hand side. We covered this in the previous module. And right down in the bottom left-hand corner, I have a little bit of information that I might find useful. So it's telling me that currently I'm clicked on slide 1 of 9. If I click on number 4, it's going to change to slide 4 of 9. It's telling me that there are no spelling errors so far found in this presentation, and it's also telling me my language. So currently I have my language set to English United States. Now moving across to the right hand side of the screen. The first thing you'll see here is something that says Notes. Now if I click on Notes, you'll see that I get a Click to Add Notes pane display at the bottom. Now, it's not too big at the moment, and you'll see if I hover over the border or the line, I do get that double-headed arrow, so I can just drag my notes section up if I want to. And if you're not familiar with the notes section in PowerPoint, all it means is that you can click in here and you can add any note that you like related to the slide. So I might want to say, let's keep it simple, the booking process. Now you might be wondering why this is actually useful, and it is worth noting that any notes that you make on your slides don't show when you run the slideshow, so your audience aren't going to see all of your notes. Now the good thing about notes is that you can print them separately to your slides and have them as speaker's notes, which is really helpful if you're giving a presentation. You can also choose to print the slide with the notes below. Not only is that useful for you, but also for the people that are attending your presentation. You might want to hand them out your slide and have the notes below so that they've got those notes. Alternatively, what you could do is you could just leave this notes area blank and print off the slide and the notes, and that will give them a space underneath the slide to write any notes that they want. So notes are a really useful feature for your audience and also for the presenter. Now, if you don't want any notes on your PowerPoint presentation, you can get rid of this notes pane. And the way that I always do it is I just drag it all the way down right to the bottom. The next button that you have is a comments button. So if I click comments, I get a pane pop out on the right hand side. And this is where I can add any notes or any comments that I want other people to see. And this is particularly useful if you're collaborating with others on a presentation. I can add my notes in there. Somebody else, my colleague, might go into the presentation and they can see my notes and also add their own comments as well. So comments can be a really useful little function to add. Then next to comments, we're sticking in the bottom right hand corner. This is where we then have our views. And if you remember, we went through views in the previous module, but let's take a look at some of the ones that we didn't take a look at earlier. Now, normal view, as we know, that's the view we're in now. This is where we would most likely come to make any edits to our slides. The next view we have is slide sorter view. And this gives you a completely different way of displaying your slides or looking at your slide deck. And the way that I tend to utilize this is I tend to come into here if I want to do a lot of rearranging of slides. So if I want to maybe move slides around, I just find it a lot easier to see in this view. It is worth noting that you can still move slides around when you're in normal view, again, just by dragging and dropping them where you want to be. But I tend to get a better overview if I'm in slide sorter view. Another reason you might come into this view would be when you start adding animations or transitions onto your slides. This is the view where you can see if a slide has any kind of transition on it. And what I mean by transition is the way that the slides move between each other. You might have some kind of effect on there. And you can see the effects when you're in Slide Sorter view. Now, I don't have any effects applied at the moment. I will do later on, which is why you can't currently see that. But you'll see what I mean as we move through this course. The next view that we have is Reading View. And again, this is just another way of viewing your slides. So again, it makes it nice and big on the screen. I can click my mouse to move through my slides. Alternatively, I can use my arrows, so my left arrow or my right arrow to move through my slides. And then finally, we have that slideshow view, which again is the view you're most likely to use if you're presenting to an audience. And remember, to come out of slideshow view, you just want to press the escape key on your keyboard. And then finally, what we have on the end here is a zoom control. So we have plus and minus, and it says 100% currently. Let me go back into normal view for a moment. And I'm just going to use the zoom slider, and you can see as I zoom in and out, it makes my presentation or my slide bigger or smaller. So you can really kind of customize it to what suits you. And very finally on the end, we have this little square which says fit slide to current window. So if I click on that, it's just going to resize my slide to exactly the right fit for the window that I'm using. So again, that can be quite a useful thing just to get that sizing perfect. So that's about it. That's an overview of the desktop and some of the buttons and icons that you'll find on the desktop. In the next section, I'm going to set you an exercise, and it's a very simple exercise. I just want you to open the file attached and use Slide Sorter and some of the different ways of moving around just to get familiar with it before we move on to the next section. So I will see you then.